Pot of $44 million is on the line. But more importantly, if you lose, you die. Other channels have covered the tactics to winning the specific games, and honestly, the show itself does a pretty darn good job of showing you creative solutions to its various puzzles. But today, we're gonna help you survive when you're going in blind, just like the contestants. This is how to survive the Squid Game. Mild spoiler warning for some of the games and strategies. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the show that's brought to you by our totally not made-up sponsor for today's episode, USB power banks. Are you an off-duty police officer who went out of your way to infiltrate a secret society running a brutal death game in the hopes of discovering a long-lost family member? If so, a USB power bank is the product for you. This device fits into your pocket, is smaller than a cell phone, and can keep your camera powered for days on end, so that when you do finally perform a miraculous escape from Death Game Island, you have more than a few minutes of video and a 50-word notepad file to show for your efforts. USB power banks. Seriously, what were you thinking? Anyway, I finally got around to watching Squid Game, along with most of the rest of the US at this point, and I loved the series. It was tense, it was clever, it was also completely misunderstood by everyone watching it. You see, the thing is being called the next Hunger Games, the new Battle Royale, the cinematic version of Fall Guys. But the thing is, these comparisons really miss the mark because fundamentally, this isn't how the games in the show work. And if you're one of the people making that comparison, it's likely gonna get you killed. Don't worry, most of the characters in the series fell into the same trap and, well, let's just say it didn't end well for them. But have no fear, MatPat is here. By the time you're done with this video, you'll understand the real way to survive the 6 rounds of playground games regardless of what individual challenges you're faced with. So the next time some random guy in a subway offers you 100,000 won to flip his paper square, or when season 2 finally launches, because let's face it, this smash hit is absolutely getting itself a sequel, you'll be prepared to survive the Squid. So pay attention. The information today might just save your life and make you rich in the process. For the 10 of you out there who still haven't watched Squid Game, here's the briefest of summaries just so you get through today's theory. Gion is a down-on-his-luck gambler who's in dire need of some cash. He's got loan sharks after him, his mother can't afford her surgery, and on top of that, he's gonna lose custody of his daughter because he can't afford to pay a lawyer. Desperate, he agrees to play the highest stakes game imaginable. He's whisked away to a remote island with over 400 other competitors where, in order to win, they have to survive 6 different children's games. Some of them are pass-fail challenges like red light, green light, where failure results in execution. Others are player versus player games like tug of war, where the losing team falls to their death. As for why you'd possibly want to risk your life in a game like this, well, each death adds 100 million won to the prize pool. 100 million won! Can you believe that? Now all of you are scrambling to Google for that conversion rate. Don't worry, I did it too when I was watching the show, and so did everyone else based on the Google Trend search results for won to US dollar conversion. It actually amounts to about $84,000 per death. Considering that there are 456 contestants, you're talking about a potential prize pool of $38 million. But be warned, once you start playing, you're not allowed to stop playing. And those who do refuse to play have to worry about clause number 2.
Consent form clause 2. A player who refuses to play will be eliminated.
When they say elimination, they mean a bullet and your head intersecting in an unpleasant way. The only way out once the games have started is...
Consent form clause 3. If all of the players agree to stop playing, the games are allowed to end.
That's actually a mistranslation, by the way. It's if the majority of players vote to end the game. That's why subs are always better than dubs. So anyway, with the rules laid out, let's get to the strategy. Like I mentioned before, the players don't know what games they're going to be playing until they get to the Death Island. If they're observant, they can piece together clues based on the wall decorations around them, but your portion of the prize pot is already going to be sitting at a hefty 800 million won, 668,000 US dollars, even before any additional deaths from the other games. If you're someone like Gian, who has loan sharks to pay off, a family member's surgery to pay for, and an ex-spouse to fight in court, that amount should cover everything while still leaving you with enough to make a down payment on a new house. There's also an economic principle called the law of diminishing utility, which states that if someone is down on their luck, having an extra $80,000 is a huge, massive deal. If you're Gian, that money has a lot of use. But if you're already standing to win over $600,000, another $80K on top is certainly nice, but no longer is the life-changing sum of money that it once was. Once your basic needs are met, as income increases, you gain a correspondingly smaller and smaller increase in your life satisfaction. You get a slightly nicer car, a slightly nicer house. Therefore, it's not something that's worth risking your life over. This is surprisingly a topic that the last episode focuses on, though for spoiler reasons, I'm not gonna play the clip. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that any winner of the Squid Games shouldn't have that money, but what I am saying is that there's a tipping point where each additional dollar earned is less and less worth risking your own life to achieve. And by just playing the game with survival as your first priority, you wind up with plenty of money money to change your situation while also minimizing your risk of losing that life so, you can go on and spend it. Obviously, there's gonna be rounds where you're forced to fight for your life and eliminate other players, but if you don't have to kill people, then don't. Never thought that's a sentence I'd have to say, but here we are. But there is one big concern that you have to be aware of. Clause number 3. At any point, the players can vote on whether or not to end the game. If the majority of players want out, that causes the game to end not just for them, but for everyone. In order for you to walk home with your money, you have to complete 6 games. But people will probably vote to escape the games if they're put into a position where they're almost certainly gonna die. So with that in mind, let's go back to the glass bridge. Unless you have outside knowledge of what tempered and untempered glass looks like, the game is generally decided by random coin flips. And by coin flips, I mean the first few people in line coming down with a mild case of death for the good of the group. In the challenge, there are 18 sets of panels.
Right is.
Hey, you got this!
1 in 32,768.
Overall, if you're first in line, you have a 1 in 262,144 chance of survival. The average here is 9 deaths, with the probability distribution curve basically looking like a bell curve, which you can see using any binomial visualization tool. You have one of those handy, right? Using that probability chart, we can see that the first 6 people in line are basically screwed, having less than a 5% chance to survive, while the people going 13th and later have a 95% or better chance to survive. But even if you're trapped in the game with no calculator, it doesn't. Well, the first one is obvious. Don't panic. Red light, green light is an easy game, and the timer was very generous as long as you stay calm and you use your time wisely. Also, just like with the 3 clauses, make sure that you're paying attention to the game's rules. For instance, we see Song-woo cheat at marbles by misdirecting his partner, but his method for collecting 20 marbles doesn't actually involve breaking any of the rules that are established by the game master.
The player who manages to take all 10 marbles from their partner wins.
Repeatedly throughout the series, we see players presented with an obvious solution, like the needle in the honeycomb game, and they just assume that because this is the default or recommended way to play the game, it must therefore be the only way to play the game. But rarely is that the case. You can lie to your partner and take his marbles. You can lick your candy until the sugar melts. The problem everyone falls into is that they assume certain rules are there when in fact they're not. In the Glass Bridge episode, we see that Gion was able to take a single marble as a keepsake with him, which ended up being relevant in that very game. A second, third, or 20 more marbles could have come in real handy with that one. Also with that glass bridge, the rules just state that you have to jump from panel to panel.
For this game, you will guess which one of the next 2 tiles is the tile made of the stronger tempered glass, and only step on those across the 18 pairs of tiles.
But nothing said that you had to land on the middle of each panel. Landing with your feet on the supporting bars holding up the glass is gonna reduce the weight on that glass, ultimately helping resist the breakage. Is it breaking the rules? I don't know. If you choose wrong, so why not try pushing the edges of the rules just a little bit when there's nothing else to lose? By taking a moment to think about the actual hard rules of the game and not automatically dismissing unconventional solutions by assuming that anything else isn't allowed, you might actually be able to find the loophole that allows you to survive. Lastly, use your surroundings. Not only are the walls giving you clues, but your clothes, the bed, the springs, and the mattresses, all of it could potentially prove useful. Were you given a glass bottle yesterday as a part of your meal? Instead of breaking it to try and shank your opponents, why not bring it with you to your next game? Tug of war. Throw it onto your opponent's platform to throw them off balance, or put glass under their feet. Maybe cut the rope so neither side loses. Another thing that I wanted to get off my chest, this is just a terrible idea.
I think that doll senses when you move around.
That person in front of you is gonna stop at times that you don't expect or anticipate. If they get shot, that bullet might go through them and pierce you, or their dead body might knock into you. And instead of focusing on the game itself, you're gonna be focused on another person as you run down that field, which is not where your attention needs to be. In short, your number 1 strategy to surviving the Squid Game should be to ignore Sung-woo.
I think it would put us at a disadvantage if we just choose one. You think?
For being the smartest person in the room, all of his ideas are dumb. I guess except for the tug of war game. Anyway, if you happen to meet a well-dressed man in a train station who invites you to throw squares of paper at each other, now you know what to do, and that's to say no. Because unless your desire to win more than $500,000 is greater than your desire to have more than a 12% chance of surviving the next week of your life, it's not gonna be worth it. But hey, that's just a theory.
Con gì đây? Con gì đây con? Một đàn gì?
Con lợn mẹ, con lợn con. Phải biết con mẹ có cá không?
Đừng té con.
Con
Đi qua cầu đi. Con đi qua cầu đi. Ok, đi về đi.
Không, con chơi nữa.
Nắng lắm, bữa sau đi học rồi chơi sau nhá.
Hai con có học sao?
Ừ.